Before entering the story, please subscribe to the channel, like and share to help me. Thank you. The prehistoric diet that made humans apex predators. Hunger made us human. The starving spark that lit the human flame. You felt it before. That deep, gnawing emptiness in your gut when you haven't eaten for hours. Now, imagine that feeling as your constant companion. Day after day, night after night. That's what life was like for early humans. No stocked refrigerators, no grocery stores. Just an endless, primal chase to silence the growl in your belly. But that hunger, that pain, it did something remarkable. It didn't just punish us, it pushed us. Hunger was the first motivator, the original teacher, the invisible flame beneath every innovation. To cooperate, to invent. The brain, that gray mass between your ears, started to grow not because life was easy, but because it was desperate. Not just trying to survive the night, but mapping out where they last saw a herd of gazelle, or remembering which plants made them sick, or which path led to water and which led to lions. And the first major tool it created wasn't a weapon, it was strategy, planning, communication, memory. A carcass lies in the sun, mostly stripped by lions and hyenas, timing our moves just right. When the predators left and the danger faded, we crept in with stone tools and busted open bones to get at the rich, fatty marrow inside. What's left is bone, marrow, and scraps of sinew, useless to most. But to early humans, that was a gold mine. You see, long before we built cities or empires, we were weak animals surrounded by stronger ones. Our claws were pathetic, our speed, laughable, our muscles, no match for the predators that stalked us. Shared meals, shared danger, shared goals. Those early scavenging missions weren't just about feeding the body, they were the first test of trust. And that's when something incredible started happening. Yet somehow, we outlasted them, outhunted them, out-evolved them. Why? Every time food ran low, evolution turned up the heat. Only the clever survived. Only the collaborative thrived. Because hunger forced us to think. Starvation drove us to take risks. Imagine a small group of Homo habilis huddled around a crude fire. And it all began with a rumble in the stomach. Not from comfort, but from necessity. Around those early fires, we weren't just dividing food. We were forming identity, memory, strategy, belonging. And nature responded by rewarding the cooperative and wiping out the selfish. Some gathered, some guarded, some remembered where to go next. Language, crude as it was, started forming from this necessity. Famine didn't just break our bodies, it built our minds. It carved our instincts into high definition, pattern recognition, social bonding, storytelling. It wasn't comfort that made us human. It was suffering. From scavengers to schemers, how desperation created the first communities. Picture this, the African plains 2 million years ago. We weren't hunters yet. Not really. We were scavengers, waiting, watching. It's about what hunger forced us to become. That's not just hunger, that's calculation, that's risk management. We began working together. Hunger alone can make you desperate, but hunger together, that creates alliances. Who holds the weapon? Who watches for predators? Who gets the first bite? Every decision was life or death, and slowly, decision-making became shared. This is where leadership was born, where roles were created. Because when your survival depends on your tribe, you better learn how to communicate. This is where the seeds of culture began, all because the hunger wouldn't go away. It demanded more than instinct. It required innovation. This isn't just about what we ate. We didn't conquer the planet by being stronger. We did it by being hungrier and figuring out how to chase that hunger together. The first flame, fire, fasting, and the mind that wouldn't stop evolving. Now imagine nightfall. No electricity, no shelter, no weapons, just blackness and predators in the dark. For early humans, every night was a gamble. But then, one spark changed everything. Fire. Not just warmth, not just light, more fuel for the body and the brain. Suddenly, we could spend less time chewing and more time thinking. Humans, with fire, cut that in half. That extra time, it wasn't wasted. It was spent dreaming, planning, building stories and strategies. Fire was a revolution, and yes, it started with hunger. Raw meat was tough to digest. It cost energy and time, and sometimes made us sick, but cooked meat, it unlocked more calories, more nutrition. Our first temple, our first government meeting. We mean the fire lit in the mind. The fasting, cooking made food safer, faster to eat, and more energy dense. And here's the kicker, it freed up time. You see, Chimpanzees, our closest relatives, spend 6 hours a day just chewing. Your ancestors wired your brain to perform under pressure, to evolve through emptiness. This was a silent revolution, not just cooking food, but cooking up ideas. And it wasn't fueled by arrogance. It was driven by meat. When food was low, cognitive performance improved, focus sharpened, memory lit up. The human brain is a greedy machine. It burns 20% of your body's energy even while you rest. To feed it properly, you need more than carbs. Suddenly, we weren't just reacting to nature. We were outsmarting it. You need fat, protein, and micronutrients, the kind only found in animal flesh and organs. Around a million years ago, Homo erectus appears, taller, leaner, and with a brain 50% larger than its predecessor. Coincidence? Not likely. The brain adapted to hunt for answers, not just animals. Once we began consuming nutrient-dense prey regularly, evolution hit the accelerator. Hunger didn't dull us. It turned us into hunters of patterns, problems, and possibilities. Sitting around the fire became our first classroom, and it all began because we were hungry. But it wasn't just the eating that changed us. It was the waiting. In times of scarcity, the human brain shifted into overdrive. We couldn't outrun gazelles in speed, but we could outlast them for hours. No claws, no fangs, just lungs, sweat glands, and a brain that could track and strategize. This is why you, today, can go without food for hours and still solve problems, strategize, create. It's in your blood. So when we say hunger made us human, we don't just mean the growl in the belly. And with every hunt, with every bite, the brain grew bolder, sharper, hungrier for more than food. The same fire that still burns in you when you want something bad enough to suffer for it. Meat, blood, and bone. The rise of the carnivore brain the day we turned predator. There was a moment, long before cities, swords, or stories, when we stopped running, when we turned around and chased them. This was the day humanity crossed the line, from prey to predator, from scavenger to hunter. You see, meat was more than food. It was power. For millions of years, our ancestors scraped by on berries, roots, and the occasional insect. But plants weren't enough. Not for the brain. The moment early humans began hunting, everything changed. We started following herds, studying patterns, learning migration routes, and the prize? Organs rich in DHA, cholesterol, iron, B12, the foundational building blocks of complex cognition. Anthropologists have the fossil evidence. The shift toward meat wasn't gradual. It was explosive. This is when we developed endurance, not to flee, but to chase. Persistence hunting became our superpower. This wasn't just evolution. It was a revolution of identity. We weren't gathering leftovers anymore. We were claiming our place atop the food chain. We had become predators of the land, and soon, of knowledge, power, and destiny. The brain that ate flesh, let's be clear, the human brain did not evolve on leaves. It evolved on liver, on bone marrow, on heart, tongue, kidney, and blood. These weren't luxury foods. They were survival essentials, and not just because they were high in calories. They were biochemical gold mines, omega-3 south like DHA to construct the very architecture of consciousness. Animal organs delivered what no plant ever could, bioavailable iron to carry oxygen to the brain, B12 to form neural pathways, cholesterol and saturated fats to build cellular membranes. Every bite of organ meat was a step forward in evolution, and our ancestors knew it, even if they couldn't name the molecules. That's why they prized the organs first, not the muscle. When a kill was made, the liver was eaten raw on the spot, shared among the hunters. The brain was cracked open for fat, the marrow sucked straight from bone. This wasn't instinct. This was ancestral wisdom, passed down before words even existed. And here's the most fascinating part. As our diet changed, so did our biology. Our jawbones shrank. We didn't need to grind plants all day. Our guts shortened. We didn't need massive intestines to break down fiber. A smaller gut meant more energy for thought, language, innovation. We weren't just evolving, we were specializing, becoming neurological machines wired for observation, memory, imagination. The reason you can visualize, plan, daydream, create is because some ancestor of yours cracked a skull open on the savannah and tasted what no herbivore ever would, and in return, our brains ballooned. Nature made a trade, less digestion, more cognition. We began to see the world differently, not as a backdrop of threats, but as a grid of opportunity. Think about that. We gave up brute force for brain force. Meat didn't just fill our bellies. It shaped our destiny. It turned primitive apes into long-distance runners, toolmakers. Storytellers. It turned survival into strategy, and it lit a fire that still burns today. A successful hunt isn't just about speed or strength. It's about anticipation, power through blood. The birth of imagination didn't start with art or myth. It started with tracking. This wasn't just diet, it was identity. Predator psychology. How the hunt reshaped human instincts. Becoming a predator didn't just change our bodies, it rewired our minds. Once we stepped into the role of hunter, something primal awoke. That boulder became cover, that footprint in the dirt, a clue. This foresight, this ability to think ahead, was born in the blood-soaked logic of the hunt. That rustle in the grass, a decision, fight, freeze, or follow. Predator psychology is strategic. Calculated, it requires patience, timing, silence. This is where the human mind began its real ascent. We didn't just chase prey, we learned to visualize the outcome before it happened. Mental time travel. Planning, scenario building. We could hold abstract images in our minds, where the herd will move, when it will rest, where the wind will blow our scent. No other animal does this the way humans do. Even our emotions evolved for the chase. The thrill of pursuit, the fear of failure, the bonding that happened when a kill was shared. It wasn't just meat that built civilization. It was the mindset meat demanded, and it lingers inside you today. Why do you feel alive when you're chasing a goal? Why do you strategize, adapt, improvise, even under pressure? Why does success feel better when it's earned through effort? Because your ancestors were hunters, and their battles didn't take place in boardrooms or social feeds. They happened in mud, grass, and blood. What they caught fed their families. What they missed meant days of pain. So the next time you plan a move, visualize an outcome, or fight for what you want, remember, that instinct comes from a million hunts before you. The predator's brain still lives inside the modern skull. The killer's kitchen, fire, tools, and cooked power, the invention that changed everything. It started with a spark. Maybe it was lightning striking dry grass. Maybe it was volcanic fire rolling through the plains. But somewhere, somehow, one of our ancestors saw flames and didn't run. They watched, and in that moment, everything changed. We learned to control it, to feed it, to use it. But when we began cooking meat, plants, bone marrow, we hacked the energy system of nature. It went straight to the brain, and what began as warmth and protection soon became the most powerful tool in human history, cooking. Because while fire terrified every other animal on earth, before fire, food was work. Chewing raw roots or tough meat took hours. Our jaws ached, our digestion labored. The returns were low. Suddenly, we got more calories with less effort. Our guts shrank, our teeth softened, and the energy we saved. This wasn't just about convenience. It was evolutionary warfare. We started absorbing more nutrients than any other species on the planet. Cooking broke down toxins. It killed parasites. It made food not just edible, but efficient. And with that power came time. Time to sit, time to think, time to tell stories. Around the fire, our ancestors shared kills, passed wisdom, and bonded. The fire became our first gathering place, our first classroom. Rough, sharp, cold. But in the right hands, they became weapons. Meat too tough, not just in shape, but in purpose. They weren't just instruments of death. They were extensions of intention, cracked bone. And we passed these skills down, father to son, mother to daughter, not with DNA, but with memory. Shaped destiny, clubs smashed through skulls and rib cages, hardened spear tips, smoked meat for travel, ash for preserving hides. We roasted it. Cold nights, we turned them into safe havens. Our thumb, uniquely precise, evolved to grip tools with control. Our shoulders, unlike any ape's, adapted for throwing. Not rocks for fun, but spears for survival. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about domination. Think about it. Predators fear fire, but we wielded it. Plants with poisons, we boiled them. And fire didn't just change our food, it changed our tools. This was the moment Homo sapiens began engineering the environment, not just surviving it. Because cooking required coordination. Hunting needed planning. Tools had to be taught. Words became vital. The killer's kitchen wasn't a place, it was a mindset. One where everything became fuel. And that mindset is what set us apart from every other creature under the sun. Tools, teeth, and transformation, and every innovation pulled us further from the wild, closer to civilization. Before fire, there were stones. The first tools weren't elegant. They were primal, just chipped rocks with jagged edges. But those edges sliced meat. We didn't need claws, we made them. The moment we combined fire with tools, humanity became unstoppable. Spears hardened in flame could pierce hide. Stone knives cut deeper. We didn't wait for food to come to us anymore. We went out and took it. And with every kill, our tools evolved. We crafted scrapers for hides, awls for stitching, blades for butchery. The human hand, so delicate today, was shaped by this need. And our teeth, they began to shrink because we no longer needed to tear raw flesh with molars. Fire did the breaking, tools did the slicing. Our mouths became instruments of speech more than survival. That's right, the killer's kitchen gave rise to language. Why? Not for poetry, for precision. Imagine the first conversations. Boil that strike here watch for wolves. The fire didn't just soften meat, it sharpened minds. We were no longer just part of nature's food chain, we were rewriting it. And it all came back to one revolutionary idea, that nature doesn't dictate the rules, we do. Cooking up civilization by the light of the fire, something unexpected began to happen. We started to gather, not just for survival, but for meaning. Meals became more than fuel, they became ritual. For the first time, food wasn't just hunted or found, it was prepared, and that act of preparation transformed everything. Why? Because cooking takes time. It demands patience, attention, and most importantly, community. One person tends the flames, another cleans the meat, another watches for danger. And together, they wait. That waiting, that stillness, allowed something powerful to form. Culture. We laughed. We mourned. We warned. We taught the next generation not just how to kill, but how to live. Around the fire, we shared more than meat. We shared memories, myths, and morals. Sharing led to empathy. Empathy led to society. In that orange glow, humanity found its rhythm. Cooking led to sharing, and what began with roasted bone marrow and charred rabbit became the blueprint for families, tribes, and nations, because fire created predictability. We began to shape the world around us, using fire as our partner. A central place, a return point, something wild animals never had, home. And from that home, we built tools, not just for the hunt, but for farming, for storing, for grinding. Even today, the echoes are everywhere. The kitchen is still the heart of the home. Meals still mark celebrations, rituals, gatherings. Recipes are passed like sacred scrolls. You might not chase prey across the savannah anymore, but the instinct to prepare, provide, and protect, it still burns inside you. Pound for pound, it consumes more energy than any other part of your body. But for most of animal history, energy went elsewhere, into long guts, massive digestive systems designed to break down plants, fiber, and cellulose. The killer's kitchen gave us more than control over food. It gave us control over time, place, and purpose, and the brain. It exploded. Gorillas, for instance, have huge bellies and small brains. They eat all day, chew for hours, ferment in their colons, and it works for them. We stopped being passengers in the wild and became authors of our own evolution. And it all started with one simple act, cooking what we once feared. And deep in your instincts, you still calculate risk versus reward based on this ancient balance. Gut versus brain, the internal war for energy, the biological gamble that rewired our species. But it came at a cost. We had to become better eaters, better planners, and more efficient killers. There was no fallback. The entire human operating system became an engine built around strategic consumption. If we didn't find food, we starved fast. Deep inside your body, a silent war has raged for millions of years, a tug of war between the energy-hungry systems, your gut, your brain, and somewhere along the line, evolution picked a side. You see, the brain is a needy organ. That's how our primate cousins survive. But humans took a different path, a radical one. We began eating energy-dense food, meat, organs, cooked vegetables. These didn't require the same digestive machinery, so the gut shrunk. That trade-off wasn't an accident. It was an evolutionary gamble. Smaller guts meant faster movement, better balance, and more agility. So nature doubled down. It made our brains the new command center of survival. This wasn't just physical, it was cognitive. Our intelligence, memory, decision-making, all of it became fine-tuned toward finding fuel, hunting, cooking, tracking, storing. Even now, your body carries that tension. Your brain craves calories. Your gut manages them. It's why modern temptation is so powerful. Your biology hasn't caught up. You still live with the blueprint of a hunter in a world of abundance. But back then, there was no abundance. Every bite was earned. And that internal war, a versus brain forged a predator unlike any other. Built to burn, the engineered body of a hunter, the human body doesn't look like a predator. No claws, no fangs, not the fastest, not the strongest. But don't be fooled. Underneath the skin lies an engine built for the long kill. You were designed to burn. Unlike most mammals, humans sweat, not just a little, profusely. That one feature changed the game. It meant we could cool ourselves while we moved, while we chased, while others overheated and collapsed. This made us the world's first endurance hunters. We weren't built to pounce. We were built to persist, to follow a wounded antelope for hours, even days, until it dropped from exhaustion. That's how our ancestors hunted, not with speed, but with relentless pursuit. Our legs grew longer for stride. Our butts, yes, our glutes, became powerful stabilizers for balance during extended running. And our bodies adapted. Our feet evolved arches for spring. Humans have fine-tuned diaphragms and rib cages that allow controlled, rhythmic oxygen intake, essential for long chases. Even our breathing changed. But all of this came at a cost. It required fuel, constant, efficient fuel. Enter the brain. That hungry organ wasn't just riding along. It was in the driver's seat, calculating paths, reading terrain, predicting animal behavior. Less energy spent breaking food down meant more energy for movement and cognition. The predator's body wasn't dumb muscle. It was an integrated system, steered by thought, powered by endurance, and fed by flesh. We didn't just evolve to survive. Leftovers from a world where every calorie mattered and every decision could mean the difference between life or death. And because the gut had shrunk, digestion became faster. Every feature we take for granted today, from our posture to our pain threshold, was sharpened by this relentless optimization. We evolved to hunt smarter, longer, harder. The same part that kept your ancestors alive during drought, famine, and failure. They're everywhere, but your brain doesn't know that. It still operates like it's 100, 0 BC to calculate, to dominate through patience. And inside your frame today, beneath the suit, behind the screens, that same design remains. You weren't made to sit. You weren't made to graze. You were made to pursue. The body remembers, even when the world forgets. The gut-brain war never ended. It just changed battlefields, cravings, control, and the legacy of scarcity. That slice of pizza, that salty crunch late at night. Your modern cravings aren't weaknesses. They're ancient signals. That chocolate bar, they speak to the same part of your brain that once scanned savannas for bone marrow and berries. Hoard calories. The drought is coming, only it doesn't come. Back then, the instinct to seek sugar, fat, salt was a survival mechanism because those nutrients were rare, scarce, precious. But modern life has parked it in a garage of processed food and artificial light. Now, it's still running the ancient program, eat when you can. That is the paradox of the modern predator. We live in abundance with a brain wired for desperation. And here's the dangerous truth. Your willpower isn't the enemy. Your biology is. But that also means awareness is your advantage. Because once you understand the design, you can outsmart it. Once you realize that craving isn't weakness but ancient code, you can rewrite the script. You are not broken. You are outdated. Evolution gave you a Ferrari engine built to run, hunt, adapt, lead. The good news? That fire hasn't gone out. It's still there, under layers of comfort and distraction. The same fire that made your ancestors track for days, fast without fear, and solve under stress, still lives in your cells. And when you align with it, through movement, discipline, clarity, something wakes up. The brain and gut, once at war, fall back into rhythm. Craving becomes control. Hunger becomes drive. And you stop eating like prey and start living like a predator again. Modern food, ancient genes. While you're still wired to hunt the caveman in your kitchen, there's a caveman standing in your kitchen. He doesn't recognize the fridge. He doesn't know what a toaster is. He doesn't understand breakfast, snack, or midnight cravings. But he's you. His bones are your bones. His instincts, your instincts. And when he sees processed sugar, trans fats, or hyperpalatable junk food, his brain lights up like he's discovered a woolly mammoth feast. Why? Because your body is running prehistoric software. In a modern world, evolution doesn't move fast. The biology inside you is still calibrated for scarcity, not abundance. It still thinks food is rare, unpredictable, and must be hoarded at every opportunity. They ate when food was available, and when it wasn't, they adapted. So when you pass a bakery and your mouth waters, That's not weakness. That's legacy. When you feel an urge to stock up on snacks before bed, that is survival instinct, not gluttony. Your ancestors didn't have 3 meals a day. They didn't count macros. Processed food isn't just unnatural. It's a psychological ambush. To earn, stimulated without struggle, fed without fight, to suffer for reward. Hunger was expected. Cravings were tools, not problems. Fasting was normal. But today, we're surrounded by abundance our biology isn't built for. Our predators are gone, but our appetites remain. And modern food, it's been engineered to hijack those ancient systems. The perfect mix of sugar, fat, and salt triggers dopamine spikes stronger than the kill of a wild antelope ever did. Your brain was built to hunt. Now it's rewarded without effort. But here's the truth most won't tell you. You're not meant to be comfortable all the time. You're not supposed to be full every hour. You're not built for convenience. You're built for conquest. And that caveman in your kitchen, he's still waiting. Today, they lead to donuts and chips. The craving is ancient. The response is modern corruption. You're not broken, not for junk, but for a mission, for fire, for discipline, for challenge. You were born to chase something real, not just to consume, but to become. But now, cravings are clues, not chains. The problem isn't that you crave. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to listen to your cravings, or what they actually mean, because cravings aren't random, they're messages, echoes from ancestors who once depended on those signals for survival. Craving salt, you're low on minerals. Craving fat, you might be energy depleted. Craving sugar, your body wants fast fuel. In the wild, these urges led to nutrient-dense foods, bone marrow, liver, berries at peak ripeness. You're being misled by an environment that exploits your instincts. You see, your brain was designed to operate with feedback loops. Hunger gives effort, gives food, gives satisfaction, gives rest. Hunger gives open app, gives tap screen, gives dopamine, gives repeat. No hunt, no struggle, no reward you've earned. We've hijacked the system, and the result, we're overfed and undernourished, stuffed, but still starving. Starving for purpose, starving for movement, starving for the ancient hunt. That made us human, and that's why so many people feel lost, because their biology is primed for battle, but their lifestyle offers no war. But here's the key: cravings can be retrained, not suppressed, rewired, by aligning your behavior with your biology, by fasting occasionally like your ancestors did without choice, by eating whole foods that speak the language of your DNA, by moving often, not as punishment, but as your true nature. You were never meant to be sedentary and stuffed. You were never meant to chase comfort. You were meant to chase mastery. And every craving you conquer is indeed just a small victory. It is a reminder that you reign not ruled by instincts. You ride them, you use them, you evolve through them. Because buried beneath every modern urge is an ancient hunter still trying to wake up. The return to instinct, the future, won't be won by the most comfortable. It'll be won by those who remember what they are and reclaim it. Because buried beneath layers of convenience, sugar, softness, and comfort is the real you. Not the one scrolling late at night, bloated and exhausted. Not the one snacking without hunger, living without fire. But the hunter, the builder, the seeker, forged by famine, sculpted by adversity, and wired for war. Modern life tells you, avoid pain, indulge, relax. But ancient life whispers, you must earn your survival. And that voice, the one that stirs when you fast, when you move, when you sweat, when you deny yourself, that voice is truth. It's your birthright. It's your edge. You don't have to go live in the woods or eat raw meat in a cave. But you do need to remember that growth doesn't come from constant abundance. It comes from controlled discomfort. Try this. Fast for 16 hours and listen to your body sharpen. Eat one ingredient foods and feel your clarity return. Train when you don't feel like it and watch your strength wake up. Say no when your instincts scream yes and taste the power of restraint. This isn't about dieting. It's about domination, not over others, but over the outdated programming that says, take the easy path. You're not some evolved machine that runs best on convenience. You're a wild, brilliant, conscious force of nature that thrives on challenge. So challenge yourself. In every meal, every decision, every craving, hear your ancestors whisper, choose the hunt. Because evolution hasn't ended. It's just waiting to see who remembers the truth, that you were never meant to eat your way to comfort. You were built to rise through hunger. You weren't made for a world of comfort. You were made for resistance, for the fire, for the famine, for the struggle that forges strength, Because deep inside you is something ancient, something wild. A fire that doesn't go out just because the lights are on. A hunger that doesn't fade just because the fridge is full. Your ancestors didn't survive because they got lucky. They survived because they listened to their instincts and answered the call. They hunted in storms, fought off predators, carved their existence out of the brutal earth. Not for glory, not for status, but for life. And in doing so, they gave you a chance. Now it's your move. This world will offer you shortcuts. It'll sell you ease, convenience, fast food, fast dopamine, fast everything. But real greatness, that still costs everything. It costs discipline, sacrifice, and the courage to be different. So the next time you're hungry, ask yourself, am I hungry for food or am I starving for challenge? Train when it's hard, eat with intention, fast for clarity, move like the predator you were born to be, because your body isn't soft clay, it's flint, and every hard decision, every skipped meal, every morning workout, every craving denied, that's the spark, the strike of fire. And fire makes you dangerous again. If this message lit something inside you, don't let it die out. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below, I choose the hunt, and share this with someone who's forgotten who they really are. Because this isn't just a video, it's a reminder. You are not meant to be tame. You are meant to rise.